Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the LA Sevens, the bronze medal final between New Zealand and Argentina. Now, two sides that heading into their semi-finals maybe would have had a little bit of confidence, but certainly shut down by Spain and South Africa, both sides losing by pretty large margins. But now the opportunity for the bronze is still on the line. And in this Argentine lineup, they've got quite a few superstars: Luciano Gonzalez, Jermaine Schultz, Marcos Maneta, Joaquin Palladini, Matthias Azutsuk, Santiago Alvarez, and Tobias Wade. Now, coming back from his injury was Santiago Mari, but then got himself red-carded in the last contest, so he is missing from this matchup. Gonzalez has a little bit of a hamstring injury from yesterday, but it does seem like he's all right to continue, and Marcos Maneta also taking that shot below the eye. He too will be playing in this contest for the New Zealanders. It is Narohi, McCarvey Black, Sophie Maka, Rob Rush, Tony Nashu, Dylan Collier, Akulia Rokalisoa, and Frank Vainuku. The last four games have been won by Argentina, so New Zealand, they will want to break that chain, get themselves a big victory here. But their form has been very up and down throughout this competition. Looks like Amanaki Nicole and Regan Weir are both out due to injuries at the moment for New Zealand, which means that they've only got a four-man bench in Brady Rush, Kittion Evai, Gray, and Howling. So we do get to see Rob Rush in the starting lineup, one of the first times throughout this competition. The crowd are still absolutely loving it. We've got two finals just around the corner as well. And the women's side of things, it will be New Zealand versus Australia, and then for the men's, it is South Africa versus Spain. As much as I want New Zealand to win this game, I think Los Pumas have this one. Well, that's the thing. I'd feel pretty bad for Argentina if they weren't able to get some sort of accolade from this competition, seeing as, they were at the top of the table throughout the whole Sevens comp. They were in great form heading into that last leg in Singapore, and then just slipping up on the final hurdle and taking a month off. And it seems like coming back, they just weren't quite as fresh as they would have liked to be. Seen a few players with wounds, with a few knocks around as well, strapping on the wrist, a couple eyebrows that are strapped up too so that they don't come off. Peter Martin, he will be the man in charge of this contest. And we are just about underway for the bronze medal final. That child has a mullet just like Thomas Isherwood. But we are now ready to go. Argentina, they'll be kicking off from left to right. New Zealand will be receiving the kickoff in this bronze medal final. We are now underway. Matthias Azutsuk having some terrific runs in that game up against South Africa. Up against Spain, I should say. It was Manu Moreno who actually held him up in that last contest. Dylan Collier has the possession for New Zealand. They are sitting. Tell you what, Argentina have already got themselves the penalty in the breakdown. Decided to take the quick tap. The heavily strapped head of Santiago Alvarez, the man who was taking the tap there. Kulia Rokalisoa joining into the breakdown, but does lose the footing. Luciano Gonzalez with a big bend. Looks like he's going to be firing this one off. No, in fact, hangs on to it as he is dragged down by Frank Vainuku, fighting for the ball in the breakdown. New Zealand told to get out of it. Going back across to the left-hand side, Palladini. Azutsuk changes direction to Marcos Maneta, almost through, but a last-ditch effort from Rob Rush to be able to stop him. Azutsuk, wide cut-out pass, and Argentina are on the board again. Something up against the Spanish that they just weren't really able to do, which was a surprise, seeing as they are one of the more dangerous sides. In fact, I would almost call them the most dangerous side on attack throughout this year. I'm going to cheer for Spain in the men's final, says Novmum. And yeah, it would be quite the underdog story for the Spanish to go from 10th ranked last year to winning the whole competition this season. Would be absolutely massive. But the kick has missed away to the right-hand side, so that will make the score 5-0 in favour of the Argentines. Argentina have won the last 4 meetings up against New Zealand. And in fact, they have won 4 straight and also won 6 of the last 7 meetings up against New Zealand. So that's almost a passing of the torch as well. We talked about Spain's record up against New Zealand, but Argentina, they've had the Kiwis beat, even if New Zealand somehow come in as favourites a majority of the time. Now Frank Vainuku breaks through. Marcos Moneta manages to shut him down before he even gets to the halfway line. Another offload though. Nicely claimed by Rob Rush. We'll fire it across to the left-hand side. Dylan Collier moving up to the 22. Has Russian support who will join the breakdown. Argentina trying to get that position back, but they have done very well to keep it on the side of the Kiwis. Tony Nashu. Low pass to Marker. Can't get through Marcos Moneta, but the offload to Narohi McGarvey Black, and he will score it now for New Zealand. Now, what do you think of the Kiwis, or what do you think the Kiwis need to do to get back to our dominance? It's a tricky one because I would say for a start, stop giving all of the try scorers to Super Rugby. I mean, look at Leroy Carter, Caleb Tangitau, Fihi Finianofo. It seems to be every time New Zealand get some guy who's going to score a lot of tries for them, they throw him away. But I think it is just a case of finding those right combinations. Yes, a few of those older guys are still handy when it comes to the experience, but at some stage there has to be the passing of the torch. Like I said earlier on about the New Zealand and Argentina head-to-head, they have to find that happy medium. New coach, I mean, you could look at a new coach, but I also don't know if it's fully the coach's fault. Like, I know that a lot of people are quick to just blame the coach when a side starts losing, but sometimes, the handling errors lately have been the one that have been killing them. And I didn't know Argentina would have the wood over New Zealand lately, says Hanoi. It's actually a surprising stat. When you hear the last 4 times that the two sides have faced off, Argentina have won all of them. Yeah, I think every single one of those, New Zealand's still probably pretty close to being the favourites, if not maybe just a little bit of an underdog. That is going to be a good run from Marker up the middle, and that is the second try now of the match for New Zealand. Will be a nice, easy kick for Kulia Rokalisoa. But so far, Marker gets his 10th try of his career, only very young in his Sevens series life, I guess you could say. But yeah, nicely done by New Zealand. Looks like a few people in the stands, not as many as I'm sure they would have liked for the final leg of the LA Sevens. At the end of the day, this was to crown a champion, but the stadium's probably about 20% full. Now, kicking this one off, Akulia Rokalisoa down towards the 22. Nicely taken by Hermain Schultz for the Argentines, but New Zealand have got themselves the 12 points to 5 lead. I'm surprised that they missed that kick now that I think about it, or maybe I don't even remember what happened for that kick, but if he did miss it, I would have been surprised because it was straight out in front. Looks like New Zealand have got themselves the penalty about 25 metres out from the Argentine line. Now ready to tap this one for Akulia Rokalisoa. He's going to try it again. Puts the ball on the inside to Dylan Collier. Maybe they chose not to take the Kiwi. Says, the kick. I would be very surprised if they're doing that up against Argentina, though. And slides over here. He does score it. Akulia Rokalisoa. The ref is actually going to have a look at this one, though. I'm just waiting to try and find this one. See whether or not Roy McGarvey Black did get out. Yes, our boy's on fire. Says Novmum. Might have lost it. Okay, the reason why I don't remember the conversion was because we didn't actually get to see one. Rokalisoa, it's right on the verge of him scoring. They're saying you may award the try. Now, the only thing that was touching that ball was pretty much his forearm, but it was a transfer of possession. Okay, no, we get the try. Says Nomum. So that will be the third now of the contest. Lining up this kick for Roy McGarvey Black. Oh no, now it's got New Zealand with 19 points. So he did get it over. It just didn't register on their scoreboard. But we also didn't get to see it when it did happen. But 19 points to 5 at the moment for New Zealand. This is a much better first half than they had up against South Africa, but Akulia Rokalisoa was just short of the line initially. Manages to get it over in the end. Slapped back by Jermaine Schultz again, and score is 19-5 on Seven side. Yep, so they have now updated the score sheet on the actual game, but it did have 12 points to 5 for quite a bit of time. Now, 8 players all inside of that breakdown, but eventually it pops out on the side of New Zealand, who have got 20 seconds before the halftime siren. Akulia Roka Lesoa goes through again. Marcos Manena making the tackle on him. Ball bounces out, but the penalty is awarded for New Zealand again. And you got to feel sorry for Argentina. Of course, they have not lost this game as of yet, but, you know, they're a team that have won the regular series. And I think if they had gone with the big championship leg straight after the last leg that we saw played, Argentina would have had a much better shot of being able to win it. 19 penalties against Argentina throughout this competition. That has certainly hurt them in terms of their chances of being able to win it. I think there was just a little bit of an argument happening between the two coaches. Or maybe it was the assistant referee, in fact. I was involved in it, but now Akurio Rocket Lesoa will once again go away. This right-hand side for New Zealand. So far, Marker with the draw and pass out to Roy McGarvey Black. I think he was possibly looking at having a bit of a chat to the man who tackled him after, put the ball down, then realised it was Luciano Gonzalez and went, actually, I'm okay. I wonder what will happen with the TV coverage with the 3 different divisions. I'm curious too, because one of the things that they were reiterating was it was going to be a lot more easily accessible in terms of more coverage for the side. So whether or not that's through Rugby Pass or whether Sky will pick up all of them, I can imagine that Sky would only pick up Division 1 and maybe 2, though. I don't know whether they would go for Division number 3. Maybe they're a package deal. Maybe that's a part of the licensing fee. I'm feeling more confident when New Zealand now says, no, mum, they are leading in this contest 24 points to 5. So, yeah, if they were to lose from here, I think that something drastic would have had to go wrong. But the next match that has taken place, it is not South Africa, it is New Zealand taking Australia in the men's match. That one will be kicking off at 12:05. And then the next match after that, it is South Africa versus Spain in the final. It's either going to be a massive end to, or I guess a fairy tale ending to a brilliant season from the Spanish, or continuing a very strong tournament for South Africa to finish the job and to get themselves the win. I just showing the ad for the NBA. There's another competition. There's so many matches of random comps that I have never watched. You mean Australia versus New Zealand? Probably. I don't know what I ended up saying in the end, but yeah, the Aussies versus the Kiwis for that one. It's happening at 12:05 p.m. New Zealand time. Well, that is a 2:05 a.m. kickoff for South Africa. I know a few people were setting the alarms. What happened to Canada and Samoa again? It says FBI. So I assume you're talking about the Samoa versus Germany game, maybe, because Canada were beaten by Kenya, so Kenya got promoted to Division 2. Samoa lost to Germany about 31-0, so they are now down in Division 3, which is a bit of a hit to them. Definitely after the way that they played throughout this tournament. I didn't think it was too bad up until that playoff game where it just all seemed to go wrong for the Samoans, but 21 minutes away from the Australia versus New Zealand match. New Zealand now, they will be able to kick off this second half. For Argentina, they have to just find a way of scoring early. And once again, it is retained, or at least gained for Argentina off the kickoff. I've been doing that quite well, being able to slap it back. Here's Luciano Gonzalez. Not a lot of arms involved in that one for Vainuku, so he will be penalised for it. Now, Argentina will be able to kick this one towards the touchline. Lots of bump fart going on. Says Anov Mummy. There's been some huge hits throughout the weekend. I think the most brutal one, though, would have been the one for South Africa versus Kenya in the women's. How, unfortunately for one of the South African players, Valimza, she just pretty much ran smack bang into the Kenyan player's face and knocked herself out, and also got a red card for her troubles. Jermaine Schultz, Palandini, Now across there to Santiago Mari, offloads up to Germain Schultz. Over the top to Marcos Moneda. Hasn't really had a huge amount of the ball in the last couple of games. Definitely not in that match up against the Spanish. That's another high shot. Double blow the whistle, and they're going to be checking that one. Germain Schultz getting in the face of Tony Nashu. And they are going to be going upstairs. Do any of these teams, Argentina and New Zealand, drop into Division 2 or Division 3? They do not. The top 8 that were taking part in the championship here stay as the top 8. It's a big shot, in fact, from Rob Rush. It's a pretty brutal shot. It's a little bit high, but it wasn't as bad in the replay as... Yeah, see that one, that angle looks like the shoulder does connect with the chin. Hello, all says Bands Blaze, welcome in. So, maybe yellow for Rob Rush. Yeah, I can't see it being anything more than that. Okay, recommendation is a yellow card for head contact. Now, nothing wrong with that. Says Kiwi Rob. Rob Rush. He'll have to make his way off the field for the next 2 minutes, which gives Argentina a little bit of a chance. Okay, New Zealand getting the warning from the referee saying that there's too many penalties going against New Zealand for foul play, and if they don't sort it out soon, someone else will be going to the bin. TMO has got that one wrong. There's Kiwi Rob in all caps. So you know he's shouting it. Now 6 minutes remaining. Gonzalez is going to be able to continue in this matchup, but he is, actually, yeah, he is right next to the touchline. I thought for a second they said he was on the other side of the touchline, but now he is possibly going to get this ball, but Marcos Moneda going to be tackled first by Roca Lasoa. Back across to the right-hand side. Referee put it in the hard yards to try and catch up to Palandini. It's a late shot from New Zealand. That's pretty dirty. But it's going to be the try for Argentina. But maybe they will have a look at that one too. After New Zealand have just been warned for playing in the slightly more foul play situation. The try there for Marcos Moneda. That ice pack on the eye has actually made it go down quite drastically in terms of the swelling. There it is. I don't think we're going to see it again, but pretty late. I'm sick, sadly, says Bands of Blaze. So your suspicions about last night and you're not feeling too flash, obviously, was because you were catching something. Marcos Moneda and Georgi Nasova, both 26 tries each. If Moneda gets one more, he will move to the number 1 on the standings. They're checking for the late shot from New Zealand. And 81 getting called over. Right. I just spoken to you, says the referee, about your foul play, and then straight away, someone else decides to have a late shot. So, Marcus going to the bin. I was in the mix of making the tackle. He wasn't really, though. It was very late. But New Zealand just not helping themselves. This is something that's happened all throughout the tournament. They've got on the bad side of about 3 of the referees. And it's just, for a side that used to be, like, they've got a bad reputation, this group, at the moment, compared to what they used to have. Like, New Zealand used to be the side that everyone was like, we want to play them, they're respectful. Now they're all doing all these cheap shots on these other sides, and it's because they're losing games. Like Argentina, they have had their number recently. New Zealand have got such a good lead, so there's just no need to throw it away. Speaking of throwing it away, almost Argentina having a bit of a mistake there with the ball in hand, but they are playing up against a 5-man New Zealand. They'll score it between the posts, and all of a sudden, New Zealand now may blow this lead. Buzzin Velez, the man who does score it, gets the conversion as well. And now, only a converted try behind. Getting into the breakdown straight away for Tobias Wade, and then just straight to the line for Buzzin Velez. Looks like another change, because New Zealand will be able to bring Rob Rush back in. Argentina too greedy, let the ball move. Says Annoy. So Marker, he will be off the field for another minute here. And there's still 3 minutes 40 left on the clock, so plenty of time for an Argentinian comeback to be on the cards. Rob Rush tackled 22 metres out from the line, not being able to get a breakdown for Azutsuk. The penalty does go the way of a New Zealand again, and that is a massive one to get, as that will use up a majority of the 30 seconds that they've got remaining in that yellow card. The TMO is useless, says Kiwi Rob. Looks like a couple changes are about to be made here for New Zealand. We see Brady Rush making his way on, and Kitiona Navai, the other man. That was a very loud ding. I don't know where that came from. But now, ready to kick this one downfield. And just finds touch for New Zealand. Currently 3 minutes remaining in this contest. One more try for New Zealand would just about secure this game. Definitely because they are now back to their 15 players on the park. Well, sorry, they're 14 players in total between the sides. 7 for New Zealand. The Argentina player held one of our players back. The lead up to that try. Says Kiwi Rob. Now, Marker, he is back out onto the park, ready to go. Kulio Rokalisoa will throw that one in. Nicely taken. Rokalisoa goes across into the middle of the park here for New Zealand. Short ball, no, couldn't get it away to Brady Rush. Good physicality shown by Argentina, but Brady Rush almost able to carve his way through. There have been a lot of times where New Zealand have been close to breaking the tackle and then just hanging on for Argentina. Rush defence there. Marker with a great fend. Has options on the outside. Does get it out wide. New Zealand 10 metres from the try line now for Frank Vainuku. Being told to stay onside there for the Argentines. 25 metres out from the line. Cut out pass there for New Zealand. I think they might have almost touched an Argentinian player in the process of making the tackle. Now New Zealand find themselves 45 metres out from the line. A little bit out of the dancing feet there. Just get hit relatively late. And that shot too, but New Zealand are through, and Brady Rush will score the try. Just letting the clock wear down a little bit. Does score it, Brady Rush. And try, says Maurice. And there as well, his 6th of the 7 circuit. Only his 2nd in the LA Sevens. And I feel like it's one of those situations for New Zealand. You know, when they had Leroy Carter and when they had Caleb Tangi Tau, those guys were racking up massive amounts of tries, but no individual for New Zealand at the moment, I don't think, has been putting together those type of numbers. So maybe that is something that has hurt them a little bit here, but a couple people cheering in the stands for New Zealand. That's payback, says Kiwi Rob. New Zealand are chasing their first podium result this season. Their best result was 4th in Dubai. That's actually insane to think about. You know, at least maybe a bronze or a silver somewhere along the lines you thought they would have had for the Kiwis. But no, been a pretty low season in terms of the accolades. Now 1 minute remaining. Going to be kicking this one off. 14 points difference between these two teams. So it does seem like Argentina will just about be out of this one. Unless, of course, they can score in the very near future. But that is knocked on by Graziano. And now New Zealand have got the ball on the halfway line. Looping around was Rush, but they will instead shift it to the left. Hope Spain is in the same pool as New Zealand in the next tournament. Says Annoy, break and run for Vi. That is, of course, Kitiona rather than Cody. Dragged down 5 metres short. Being able to score. Rob Rush decides to fire it off to the right-hand side, where Argentina do have numbers, but they had them too wide. And Rohe Makavi Black cuts through again. New Zealand get themselves another, and that is the 3rd try for Rohe Makavi Black. That's his hat-trick, and also that is only his 3rd try of the LA Sevens. So another player who hasn't been able to cross the try line too often up until this match. But just a big seller. The dummy goes through. Tricking the Argentinian defence, Zangara, the man who went the wrong way. Kick has been taken, and that will be full time between these two sides New Zealand winning at 38 points to 17. The next game that we are covering, it is happening in 10 minutes' time. We have got there Argentina gone from winners of the regular season to fourth, says Kiwi Rob, but it just shows what a difference a month can make, doesn't it? I do think that if these leagues took place back to back between that one and this one, I do think Fiji and Argentina probably both would have finished a lot higher. But the Argentinians, they can still go home extremely happy with what they were able to do throughout this season, getting themselves the most points out of any team. So winning the season, but the title is now on the line for South Africa versus Spain as well. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. Like I said, 10 minutes time and we are back for the Black Ferns taking on Australia. So be sure to check that one out as well. But thank you all very much for being here and I will see you all for the next one.